Hello everyone, it's Veronica and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a really fun video because it is December 1st and I have right here all the physical books that I read in November. I also read a bunch of other books like ebooks, audiobooks. I'm going to show you right here what I did for my Read in 2021 and my November spread. So let's get started and talking about all the books that I read in November. I'm really excited. I'm going to start with all the physical books. I read a lot of ebooks this time. I also got back into audiobooks and I'm really enjoying audiobooks now. The first book I read was Bewitching, The Boss by Jessa Kane. That one is 18 plus. Don't read it if you're under 18, please. That I gave 3.5 stars. It was honestly okay. It wasn't exactly my favorite, and I say this because first off, it was really random, the romance. It kind of felt stalkery-ish and just a little bit of creepy, and I was very much uncomfortable during the whole book. And I wanted to stop, and so I just on my Kindle, I was just flipping through it so fast. So I'm giving it 3.5 because obviously the smut is fine. It was decent, so 3.5. The next book I read was The Vikings Stolen Princess by Sarah Rodi. I liked it. So I thought this was honestly really cute. Basically, an enemy of this heroine kidnaps her. It wasn't really a kidnap. It was more like, I'll go to protect my people. And so it was interesting. This was adorable. Loved it. The enemies to lovers was amazing. And then when she finally discovered why they're actually enemies, loved it. 10 out of 10. Amazing. So I gave that 4 stars. The next book that I read was The Knight's Convenient Alliance by Melissa Oliver. I kind of enjoyed it, to be honest. It was really nice. I also gave it 4 stars. This was kind of like a second chance romance, enemies to lovers, and it was nice. It was really, really cute. I had a fun time because I enjoy second chance romances, and I thought this was so cute because they kind of hated each other, so the banter was pretty cute actually, so I really liked that, and I just had a fun, enjoyable time reading this. So it was a really cute book and I pretty much enjoyed it. The next book I read was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was book 1 in the Brown Sisters series. I read this as an audiobook because I got all 3 Brown Sisters books on Libro FM, and might I say, the narrator for book 1 sounded, and I'm so sorry for saying this, she sounded like a grandma. I'm so sorry. I thought the book was amazing. It's just, the narration, it was just, I'm sorry, okay? I am sorry. The only downside of this book was the narration. Other than that, everything was perfect. I really enjoyed it. I loved Chloe, I loved Red. They were both super cute. Chloe, her vibes were just so fun and it was amazing to read about. It was just a whole fun time and I really, really enjoyed it. Their chemistry was pretty good. The next book I finished was To the Edge of Sorrow by Aaron Appelfeld. I read this for my English class because we focus on film and literature in the Holocaust. So I give this 4 stars. It was really nice to read about these experiences that people who were able to escape the internment camps and live in the forest. It was really intense, and it breaks my heart each time I read or watch anything related to the Holocaust. So this was definitely very intense, but I think out of all the books that I read for my English class, this was one of the favorites because I learned a lot more. Even though this was fiction, historical fiction, 4 stars. The next book that I read was The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling, and I did a reading vlog of this, which will also be linked above and also in the description box below. This one I gave 3.5 stars, disappointingly enough. I actually anticipated this to be 5 stars because this is kind of my first horror book. I wanted to desperately love this. I anticipated this to be 5 stars. But unfortunately, it just didn't deliver as my first horror. The writing, it was slowly, like in the beginning, it was like spooky, like a haunted house potentially, a girl living there, husband is like all weird and stuff, right? It's like definitely very interesting. But then slowly as we got further into the book, it more or less read as a supernatural book rather than something that, you know, is like horror, absolutely mind-blowing, scary, nothing like that. So I was slightly disappointed and unsatisfied with the way, personally, the writing was great, but the plot in the end, it just like, it was like going up, and then by the time we got to like maybe 30-50%, it just kind of downfalled a lot. And that was something that I was super disappointed in. But I mean, not something like extremely disappointing, absolute failure. This was still enjoyable to read, but I was honestly anticipating more horror, more like chills and like, oh my god, I need to sleep with the lights on. That's kind of what I did not get in this book and what I was hoping for. This honestly is great for people looking into horror. The next book that I'm going to talk about is probably one of my favorites of this year and my favorites of November. 10 out of 10. It was fantastic. It is Don't Kiss the Bride by Carian. I gave this 5 stars. If you didn't know, this book was perfection, and you can check it out in my reading vlog. It was perfection, both physically and on audiobook. I did pick it up as an audiobook from Libro FM because I had a credit and I was like, I do kind of want to listen to the audiobook. And holy, the audiobook was perfection. Loved this book to pieces. It was amazing. I loved it so much. I think just the age gap romance was really nice, and it wasn't too big of an age gap. In general, though, this fake relationship, marriage of convenience, by the way, was perfection. You can just see their chemistry slowly building up as they got to know each other. I had a fun, enjoyable time reading this. This was heartbreaking but beautiful at the same time, and the writing, it was so beautiful. It was just beautiful in general, and I had just such a fun time. Their romance was beautiful as well, and I had a 10 out of 10 fantastic time reading this. No joke though, this book was absolutely fantastic. If you pick it up physically or on ebook or on audiobook, all platforms, 10 out of 10. They were fantastic. So all in all, just pick it up, whatever platform. It was amazing. The next book was Survive the Night by Riley Sager. And this was yet another book that I anticipated to be 5 stars, yet didn't rate it 5 stars, unfortunately. I actually rated this 3 stars. And first off, I must say something very similar to The Death of Jane Lawrence. It started out interesting, and I say that because I loved the synopsis. Campus killer girl potentially sitting next to the campus killer while she wants to go back home. Yes, please. That's why I got this for book of the month. But I just didn't get that satisfaction, and the writing style was first off very fascinating. It read as if it was a theater script. It was like a script, if you will. It was really weird, and I enjoyed it at first, which is why I gave it 3 stars. But then the plot was like, by the end of it, I was just like speeding up my audiobook because I borrowed it from the library as well. And I was just like speeding it up so I can just read it and just get over with it. I felt, unfortunately, a little bored by the end of the book and just left feeling bad about it because I wanted to enjoy the audiobook and I wanted to enjoy the physical book, and then could not for the life of me because this book, the plot was a little underdeveloped. Could this have been better? 100%. The next book that I read was Backstage Benefits by LaQuette. This one was a Harlequin Desire. I have this 2 stars. I had high hopes because it was something along the like film industry, and basically we're dealing with like a producer and someone who's like famous. She's famous, I don't know what for, I don't know, she's gorgeous, whatever. I had high hopes because I thought this was more interesting, but the plot was really underdeveloped, and honestly the writing was absolutely really bad. I did not enjoy reading this at all. I just did not have fun, and I wish I did. I was reading a Wattpad book. At the same time, it was just not great, and I did not have fun reading this, and I flipped so fast on my phone. I was just like skipping pages at that point. It was just not great. It was boring, no plot, and it was supposed to be kind of smutty, but no smut as well. You know, if you want to add smut, at least make it good. And if you want to add plot and write a book, at least make it good. The next book was Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is a reread, and what makes it worse is that this was also a DNF the second time around. I DNF'd it both times, and what's funny is that I read it as an ebook because I bought the ebook on Kindle. It was like $1 or something. I totally forgot. It was a year ago. And the second time I borrowed it from my library as an audiobook. And what's dumb is the fact that it is both bad on the ebook and on the audiobook. I just don't know how people like this book. And you know what? You don't have to explain it to me. People have their own opinions of books. So in my opinion, it was bad. It was trash. Because this book read like a Wattpad book if it was on first draft and they decided, let's just publish it now. It just was not good. And I'm sorry, okay? The characters like Marion and whatever, Lucas. I totally forgot his name because I unfortunately don't care enough. The writing was like a teenager writing. I don't know why I didn't like this so much. I think it was just the writing and the plot. This book was so bad. I'm sorry. I can't say it's good. I cannot sit here and say, I actually like this part, because I didn't like a single part. And I'm sorry to anybody who likes Normal People. And if this is your favorite book, I am sorry. The next book that I read was Tokyo Ever After by Emikojin, and I read this for my Agents Under a Typhoon book club book pick of November, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed this book. I give it 4 stars. This is like a young adult romance, and I had a fun time. I actually wanted to read this because I originally bought it maybe like earlier this year in 2021 as an audiobook on Libro FM, and I was like, okay, let's read it. I slowly realized I really like Emikojin's writing, and honestly the narration of this book made it even better. The narrator was so great, and the way she voiced the heroine's character, because I totally forgot her name, it was really great, and I really enjoyed the narration. So I think for me, if you do end up reading Tokyo Ever After, pick up the audiobook, because the audiobook was actually really, really great, and I had such a fantastic time reading it. And honestly, as it sets place in Japan, listening to it, I really, really missed Japan so much, so much. So I give it 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, the next book is The Bride Test by Helen Huang, and this is book 2 of her series, the Kiss Quotient series. I read Kiss Quotient early in October, and it's just taken me a while to read The Bride Test. Honestly, I gave this 4 stars, and I had such a fun time. Esme and Kai, they were really cute together, and I loved how serious Kai was, and how slowly you can really tell how Esme was breaking him down. He was determined to absolutely hate Esme in the beginning. This was kind of like an arranged relationship by his grandma or something, and he was like, no way, I am not gonna like her, don't even think about it. By the end of the summer, she's going back to Vietnam and I'll be here alone. Slowly throughout the book, you can tell that he's slowly getting used to Esme, slowly caring for her and caring, and just you can see the relationship form. So I really enjoyed The Bride Test. I had such a fun time. 4 stars, well deserved. The next book is also a second book. It's Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert, book 2 in the Brown Sisters series. Take a Hint, Dani Brown was super cute, super nice. I love kind of the friends to lovers aspects. It's actually one of my favorite tropes in romance. I loved Dani, I loved Zephyr, and it was just so nice. You can tell their chemistry was just slowly getting more and more throughout the book, and their friendship was just blooming, and I really enjoyed that. So love Takah and Dani Brown, really enjoyed Zephyr and Dani, and I love the fact that they even had to form a fake relationship. Like the friends to lovers that like build up to like from fake to like actually real. Love it so much. I really enjoyed this, so gave it 4 stars. The next book is the last book in the Kiss Quotient series. It's The Heart Principle. Really enjoyed this, gave it 4 stars. I really liked Quan and Anna's relationship. Their chemistry was so nice, and I really had a fun time reading this. And Anna's development throughout the book, she's very timid. You can see throughout the book, she's like, her sister is a boss and she's the worst, and basically slowly as you get through the book, Anna finally has the guts to like tell her off, and so Anna fighting back. The character development was amazing, and that's actually why I liked The Heart Principle a lot. And also the fact that Quan basically was there fighting by her side and being that supportive, fake relationship kind of dude. Their relationship was perfect. I loved how they took everything slow and steady and really discovering in their relationship, their chemistry, just building up and up and up, and I really enjoyed it. Basically, go and read the Kiss Quotient series. All 3 books were really great, and I had a fun time. Okay, the next book that I read was A Woman of Intelligence by Carian Tanabe, and I DNF'd this book. I could not get into it. I couldn't get into the ebook, so I picked up the audiobook, and I read that towards like, I think the 22nd, 23rd. Our main character, she is so weak. She has no confidence in herself. Second of all, her husband was he was just the worst, and I didn't like him at all, but I really didn't like him. I thought his attitude towards our main character was real bad. And also, our main character was just like, this is not a spoiler, it's in the synopsis. How does she basically get recruited by the FBI to be a double agent? Because she's too weak to be a double agent. And what's more insane is that by 30% into the audiobook, we still haven't gotten to the part where she accepts being a double agent in the FBI. We're still going through her whole life. Oh my god, it was such a waste of time. This book was trash, and I'm sorry. Bye-bye. Basically, November was just a real weird reading month, and it was just real weird. The next book is called Kiss Me by Tori Richards, but basically I gave that 4 stars. At first, it was like kind of unusual because it was getting into that insta-lovey territory. It was pretty good, but let's be honest, this is the type of book I forgot immediately afterwards. So gave it 4 stars. It was enjoyable, but I forgot it the next day. The next book is something I can without a doubt say was my favorite of November, and one of my favorites, all-time favorites of 2021. Okay, it's The Highline Fling by Megan Quinn. Okay, this book was perfection in a book. This book was perfection in a book. One book, perfection. It's called The Highline Fling. Read it, please. This book, simply amazing. Basically, Bonnie and Rowan, their relationship was stunning. And the fact that it was set in a small town, Scottish town, was amazing. And I love basically the atmosphere. It was like I was in Scotland with them, just experiencing it from afar and just like seeing their romance build up. Basically, it was amazing. This book was 10 out of 10, perfection. Best book I've ever read. I read it in one day. Basically, it took me one night. It pretty much took me one night just to read this, and I don't regret it at all. Okay? I read this super fast because it was beautiful. I love the fact that Rowan was basically literally grumpy the whole time, and then you can slowly see how Bonnie was breaking him down real fast because she's got such a sunshine energy, crazy wacky energy, the total opposite. And honestly, let's be honest, what Rowan needed in his life, and their chemistry was amazing. This book was just amazing. Basically, this made my whole day and whole November much better. Let's talk about the next book, because the next book was The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan, and I gave this 4 stars because it was pretty good steam factor wise. Holy, this book was steamy. This book was steam only, and it was so good. The chemistry between Troy and Erica was amazing. Okay, the smut was off the roof. It was amazing. And I pretty much only gave this 4 stars because the smut was real good. Honestly, their chemistry though, it was really cute and really nice to read about. And I had just a fun time reading this. And personally for me, I read The Doctor, which was book 1, probably in late October. And reading The Pool Boy, I must say I quite enjoyed The Pool Boy a lot more than The Doctor. But I can't wait to read book 3, which was The Architect. So really excited to read that. Okay, the next book I read was The Sweetest Remedy by Janie Garrow. I must say, for The Sweetest Remedy, I actually gave this 3.5 stars. It was okay. I had, I think, just a problem with the plot line. It went too fast. It was almost insta-love. Now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it, it was borderline almost insta-love. And kind of the issue was I was more or less expecting, like, she'll go to her father's funeral, get to know her half-siblings a lot better, her family that she didn't even know she had, and then she falls in love. And I also felt that this book was not really romance heavy like I expected it to, like the synopsis really said. This was more along the plot and her family. Honestly, in general, the plot, the development throughout the story, the timeline, it was really choppy and kind of left me a little unsatisfied, to be honest. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I felt like we were jumping to one bit to another and we needed everything in the middle. It needed to be full paper, not with holes. And so that's kind of my issue. That's why I didn't give it a 4 or a 5, because it just felt like it needed more development in the plot. The next book I read was Actor Age Eve Brown, and this book, I gave it 5 stars. Okay, can I just talk about the fact that the audiobook was amazing. I finished it last day of November and it was perfection. Gave it 5 stars because Jacob and Eve were perfect. Their chemistry was amazing, their romance was amazing, and the plot was amazing. This was by far my favorite book out of the 3 Brown sisters. I loved this. I mean, I loved Chloe, loved Dani, but Eve, she was the one. Loved this book so much. This book was just amazing. I had such a fun time, and it was really steamy. Like, it was a lot steamier than I honestly expected. I just had such a fun time listening to the audiobook, and honestly, can I just say this book was phenomenal. And if you guys haven't read the Brown Sisters yet, do so now. This book was absolute perfection. I am so glad that I finished this on the last day of November because I felt like I had such a choppy November, and I ended this November with such a strong read, aka Actor Age Eve Brown, and it was perfect. And I really, really enjoyed it. I loved Jacob. I loved Eve. Their banter was hilarious. 10 out of 10. Would recommend Actor Age Eve Brown. The whole series is really good, but I just simply really, really, really enjoyed Actor Age Eve Brown a lot. Okay, everybody, that was it for my November wrap up. I am really impressed with how I did, although let's be honest, it was an okay November. I'm so glad that I ended up with a few favorites like Don't Kiss the Bride and most obviously the Highline Fling and Actor Age Eve Brown. Can I just say those books were perfection in a book. Those are the books that out of this whole video I would like you guys to read if you're a huge romance fan. I had a lot of good books this month and a lot of bad books this month. All in all, I'm really proud of the fact that I read a lot. Other than that, thank you guys so much for coming to my November wrap up. I am so excited to dive into December and to read some phenomenal Christmas romances. Thank you guys so much for coming to this video. If you do enjoy it, give this video a thumbs up. And also, if you guys would love to, I would be super grateful if you guys hit the red subscribe button down below. You guys have just been such an amazing audience to record to, but I'm so thankful for you guys being here. Thank you guys so much for being on my channel and subscribing if you guys do, and just thank you for being here. So if you guys didn't know, I post new booktube videos every Saturdays, so I will see you guys all next time. Bye!